Hey there, and welcome to another episode of the Dadcast, the mostly weekly podcast where I like to just chit chat with everybody, talk about stuff that's on my mind, get my opinions out there into the ether for all 81 of you subscribers to view at your leisure. But yeah, this week we're talking movies again. I know it's like a week and a half late, but I finally got a chance to go see Deadpool. As a dad of a toddler, you can't really take him to see Deadpool, even though he did sneak down and watch Deadpool 2 the other night when I was watching it. But you can't really take a 3.5-year-old to the theater to see Deadpool. Not appropriate violence, not appropriate language, and just kind of flipping rude to everybody else around you. Which, surprisingly, we went on a Sunday evening, and the theater was still packed. Like, it was basically a sellout, so Deadpool's got a lot of friends in Virginia. So yeah, I was shocked because we were going to go to like a 4:30 showing, and normally I buy my tickets online, but my mother-in-law kind of came in late with the whole hey, I can babysit. So we dropped him off, and since she lives right near the theater, we just went there to buy the tickets. So it's like front row seats were all that were available for me, my wife, and my teenager. And we get in there, and generally speaking, like, because this is a cinema cafe, so it's one of those that's got reclining chairs, you can sit back like that. So my experiences with like the Alamo Draft House, where I used to live, and other theaters with like the really nice reclining seats, even if you're in front row, you're still far enough back to where when you're reclining you can see everything just fine, and it's not that big of a deal. In this particular theater, because it was the smaller theater for the 4:30 showing, you were right up at the screen. Like, I would have been like this the entire time and maybe seen half the movie. So we went and exchanged our tickets for a later showing. We sat further back in the larger theater for that one. And had the 4 o'clock or 4:30 showing been in the larger theater, the first row would have been fine because that was far enough back with the reclining chairs where you'd seen everything. But, so we still saw it. Loved it. I definitely had to explain some of the references to my wife because she has not seen every comic book movie like I have. Like, I had to kind of explain to her, it's 2 weeks out. I should say spoilers for Deadpool. From here on out, there will be spoilers for Deadpool. So if you haven't seen Deadpool yet, I'll put a time code here to where I start talking about upcoming movies because I'm going to talk about Deadpool first. I'll put a time code, and then you can come back and watch from there, or you can just stop the video, go see Deadpool, and come back and watch. Or if you don't care about spoilers, even better. Yeah, so I had to explain to her why Chris Evans was speaking with a Boston accent and was not Captain America. He was Johnny Storm. I had to explain to her the Channing Tatum Cable reference, and also had to explain to her Elektra's reaction to Daredevil being dead. That Ben Affleck played Daredevil in the Fox ones. So there are a lot of references in there that if you are not, especially if you're not familiar with the Fox Marvel universe, a lot of these might get lost on you as to who these characters are, why they're significant, some of Deadpool's jokes, and everything. So so there's that. But no, the movie was hilarious. Had a lot of fun. I liked all the cameos for the Deadpool Corps. You had Matt McConaughey as Cowboy Deadpool, Nathan Fillion as Headpool, Blake Lively as Lady Pool, and Blake and Ryan's two of their kids as Baby and Kid Pool. So those were kind of fun cameos in there. And I think from behind the scenes photos, Welsh Pool or Welcome to Wrexham Pool, I think that was Mac from Always Sunny, Rob McElway. God, I can't remember what his last name is. I know it's Mac something, but Mac from Always Sunny. I think he was in that Deadpool costume because I'm pretty sure he or Ryan tweeted out a photo of him in the Wrexham Deadpool costume, which, because of that photo, I thought maybe he'd take the mask off and we'd see, oh, they're not all Ryan Reynolds. But no, he doesn't remove his mask at all. And if I can find that photo, maybe I'll put it in somewhere here. But yeah, no, Deadpool was hilarious. It was a blast. A couple things I hope come from Deadpool. I think we're gonna see Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds in the upcoming Avengers movies, especially with Deadpool being Marvel Jesus, and we never did see why Thor was crying over Deadpool. So we didn't get to see that, and we were told by Paradox that it was later on. So, I mean, we'll have to wait and see if that pans out. And I couldn't tell if that was like the Chris Hemsworth Loki scene where he's crying over Loki and they just superimposed Deadpool, or if they refilmed it, and if it was with Hemsworth or his brother who plays him in the play in Ragnarok. So I couldn't really tell on that brief shot because it was so quick. But then I think I was watching Screen Crush, and they showed the clip, and I was like, I could see it better. I was like, oh, okay, that is Hemsworth, and that's just the scene redone with Ryan Reynolds. Oh, excuse me. Ryan Reynolds superimposed there. But I can't say there was anything I disliked about the movie. As a fellow Honda Odyssey owner, that van does fucking rock Deadpool. I agree. I'm sorry, it does fuck, or whatever that quote was. Let me see if I can find that quote, because I posted it on the Ninten-Dad Instagram, a picture of my car with the quote. So, and let's see, what was the quote? Yeah, the Honda Odyssey does fuck hard. Even though I recently had to replace the alternator on mine, but luckily, myself and my brother-in-law, we have the tools, we have the knowledge, so I just had to buy the part instead of spending like $1,500 to get a mechanic to do it. Kids, always learn how to fix your own cars. It will save you a ton of money in the long run. Trust me when I say this. But yeah, it was just a blast in there. Seeing the different Wolverines, I geeked out hard. I didn't want to like yell and cheer because I think I would have been the only one in the theater doing it when we saw Weapon X from Age of Apocalypse Wolverine in there, because I love that comic series, and I love that Wolverine. It's one of the few Marvel Legends I still have. It's over on my Marvel Legends shelves over there, which I think my Marvel Legends, not counting the Spider-Man, there's, let me see, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. I got like 25 Marvel Legends left, and that's down from probably a couple hundred back when I was collecting Legends and that I sold. But yeah, I still have that Wolverine because I love that version of Wolverine. So seeing the Henry Cavill Wolverine, which hopefully that leads to, if we get a recast of Wolverine, it is Cavill. He looks good in the part. And I just like Henry Cavill. Like, I don't know how you could not like Henry Cavill. It's not like he's a Shakespearean actor or anything like that, but he's a good actor, and he's just a very likable person. So it's one of those things, like seeing him take on that role for Hugh, because I think if this wasn't Hugh Jackman's last outing as Wolverine, I think the Secret Wars and Doomsday outings will be him calling it quits, because I think after that we're going to shift into like a mutant saga kind of thing, and we're going to get the X-Men. I think we're definitely going to get recast, and that kind of segues into my other hope for coming out of that movie. Be so great to have Channing Tatum continue on as Gambit. It was a bit distracting. I think they got to work on that costume, especially the cowl part, a little bit. But I think they can make a pretty comic accurate Gambit outfit work in live action. Because that was my only problem with his Gambit, was slightly distracting the way the cowl sat on his head. Maybe just not even do the cowl, just do long hair Gambit without the cowl, but the jacket and the chest piece and everything like that. But that was definitely great seeing Tatum do that. So not going to go into too deep with it. On my rating of 1 to 10, I'm giving Deadpool, I'm going to give it a 10. It was fun. It told a coherent story. The acting was fantastic. The humor was great. The action was fun, especially that fight in the Honda Odyssey. And I'm not a movie critic, so I'm not going to be overly critical on things. It's definitely a movie I'm going to watch again. I'm going to buy it when it comes out, and 4K Blu-ray, of course, because that's That's how you know if I really like a movie, if I go out of my way these days to buy the physical media instead of just buying it digitally. So I'll get it on 4K Blu-ray. Too many yawns, and I apologize. I'm going to go out of my way to get it on 4K Blu-ray when it comes out, just because it's that good. Just like recently, I picked up The Crow on 4K Blu-ray. So now the only formats of The Crow I've never owned are Laserdisc and maybe UMD for the PSP. I keep meaning to look that up to see if that ever existed, because The Crow might not be my favorite movie of all time, but it sure as hell up there. It's one of my all-time favorites. Definitely top 10 overall, and definitely top 5 for comic book adaptions. And maybe probably my favorite comic book movie from the 90s. I know that's not a hard bar to clear, but it's great. Like, a lot of people give a lot of credit to Blade being the first really good comic book movie. This predates Blade, and I think it's a lot better than Blade. And that's not taking anything away from Blade. I really like Blade also, so don't get me wrong there. Love Wesley Snipes, speaking of. It was great seeing him back as Blade, though it does kind of take you out a little bit because he's old, and he's half human, half vampire, so you wouldn't think he would age, or at least age that much. So just seeing an old Wesley Snipes as Blade was a little weird. Not totally weird, just a tiny bit weird. But he was great in it. But he doesn't have a sword, and I wonder why. I've heard rumors that there's like rights issues for that sword from the creator of the sword or something like that. So I'll have to look that up and see if that's actually true or not. But him, and then seeing Jennifer Garner as Elektra, that was cool to see that they brought her back, especially because Jennifer Garner is by no means old, but she's at that age where she doesn't get roles because, for whatever reason, with Hollywood, and as woke as people like to claim Hollywood is, once a woman hits 30 for the most part, or her early 30s, she doesn't start seeing roles again until she's like close to 50 playing grandmas when it comes to movies. For some reason, like, certain actresses will get like bit parts, or if there's and they don't get made anymore because we don't get mid-budget movies anymore, but you would see actresses in their like late 30s and their 40s playing moms and things like that in certain films, stuff like that. You don't get that anymore. It's like you'll see like a 50 or 60 year old like Tom Cruise married to like a 25-year-old woman, and we're just supposed to accept that because for whatever reason Hollywood doesn't cast women above a certain threshold in their 30s until they reach grandma age, which so weird of Hollywood. And it's something I noticed a long time ago, and I've mentioned it to people, and then people are like, oh my god, you're right, where did this actress go? Well, she's doing Hallmark films or commercials, or she's on a TV series right now, because movies don't cast women above like, let's say 35 until they reach grandma age for some reason. It's like when you're like 28 to 35, you can play a mom in a movie. Once you hit 36 though, you're on the bench until you're in your 50s and you can play a grandma. Don't know why that is. So it was nice to see Jennifer Garner getting the nod to come back as Elektra. And I wonder if her and Ben were still married if we would have seen him as a Daredevil. Because I've always loved the character Daredevil, and I like that movie. It's not great, but I still like it for what it is. I mean, speaking of not great movies, we got Street Fighter the movie, the video game, playing in the background right there. Talk about a bad movie that I absolutely love because it fucks hard, according to Deadpool. So it would have been kind of cool to see Ben Affleck there, but I have no idea what his relationship with Jennifer Garner is. It could be very civil, like me and my ex-wife, or it could be knock down, drag out, F you, like Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. Who knows? I don't really care about the personal lives of celebrities. It makes me like them more because, generally speaking, the more you learn about a specific athlete, celebrity of any kind, the more you tend to dislike them. So I just avoid that. Like, people are like, oh, can you believe? I was like, nope, I don't want to know. All I know is Ryan Reynolds seems great, and I appreciate that. Same with Hugh Jackman. But that's as far digging as I'm going to do. So, no, it was awesome seeing Elektra, and then seeing X-23 come back. And I'm sorry, I don't know that actress's name, because as far as I know, I've only ever seen her in Logan. Yeah, she's a pretty good actress. For the two roles I've seen her in, she was really good as a kid actress, and she's good as a teenage actress. Maybe she's in her early 20s. I don't know. But she carried her role, and her like dramatic scenes with Hugh Jackman were pretty good. I mean, they were short and few and far between, but they were good. So yeah, just everything about that movie, like the cameos. We got Pyro, played by the actor from the X-Men movies. Maybe the Blob was the same actor. It's hard to tell with all that makeup, and you only kind of see the Blob real quick, so I don't know if it's the same Blob from X-Men Origins or not. Obviously, it was not Vinnie Jones. Is the Juggernaut, just some other guy, which for the way that role was, probably too expensive to get Vinnie Jones, or Vinnie Jones maybe I think Vinnie Jones hated that role because of the prosthetics and everything, getting ready. He just couldn't stand it, so coming back for probably what equips to like 2 to 5 minutes worth of acting. Wouldn't blame him if he didn't want to come back for that. And then we get possibly a different Russian from Punisher. And I say possibly different because all we see is a big dude in a striped shirt. He kind of looked like Tugboat from the more like Tugboat from the WWE than the Russian from the Punisher movie. And because it's never spelled out which Punisher was there, if maybe all 4 of them were, 3 of them, because John Barathol got brought back, so maybe just Dolph Lundgren, Thomas Jane, and Ray. No. You know who I'm talking about. I can't think of his name right now. Which one that was, but considering Blade used the rocket launcher and the third Punisher had the rocket launcher, maybe it was that one. And so that was his Russian, so it wouldn't be Kevin Nash getting recast, which I did see. I gotta find the YouTube short. Kevin Nash responds to being recast in the Deadpool movie, which, considering we never get confirmation that that is the Russian, might not even be a recast at all. And I'm sure Kevin Nash probably doesn't care for the most part. Maybe he would have liked the check to probably would equivalent to a day's worth of work, but I don't think he probably cares. I do need to find that YouTube short just to kind of hear what old Kevin thinks about that. But yeah, a lot of cameos. I'm trying to think of any other cool cameos we saw other than the different Wolverines, which we got the John Bryan brown suit, which was awesome to see in live action, and we got a yellow suit in live action. So now we've seen them all in live action, even a Weapon X in live action. So awesome stuff. But yeah, I don't want to say too much about the movies other than some of the cameos I talked about, because going in there kind of fresh and seeing the laughter and everything like that, just the jokes, they're great. And Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds, you can really tell they're friends in real life because their chemistry on screen is great. And Deadpool and Wolverine just arguing constantly is fantastic. But what I do want to touch on are some of the trailers we saw before the movie, because I do have a lot to say about them. First one I'll talk about, because the movie's already out and just getting destroyed by fans and critics, Boarderlands. Yeah, it's just kind of one of those things. It's those kind of open world, first person shooter, linear shooters, looter shooter kind of things like that. I don't think they translate well to a movie, because your entertainment comes from you playing the game, and the story is very secondary. So just, I don't know, just the stories in the making of Borderlands kind of sums it up. Like, it's been in development since like 2016. I want to say before Borderlands 2 even came out, because I think it was just they were working on it with Borderlands, or maybe it was after Borderlands 2. But what could have saved that movie was Handsome Jack, because he's the best part of the Borderlands series. I don't care what anybody says. Borderlands 2 is the best Borderlands, and I think part of my problem is Borderlands 2 was the first Borderlands I played, and so the original and 3 without Handsome Jack, just they don't quite hit the same, because there's not that comedic antagonist that you're hunting down and everything like that. So, and this one's bombing, so I don't think we're going to get a Borderlands 2 to actually see Handsome Jack in there. But yeah, I think Borderlands could work as a movie if you get the right creator behind it, because I think a lot of these properties, you need a Ryan Reynolds or Henry Cavill, because The Witcher season 1 was pretty good, to helm it, because they love the characters of the franchise, so they are going to want to see it justice, as opposed to Hollywood studio just getting money and saying, let's make this popular franchise. We'll just cast people. We'll get a director. We'll get a writer. I think when you have these properties and you have creatives who care about the property, they're going to do it justice, and they're going to make the movie, the TV show, what have you, that really hits home. I think that's kind of been the problem lately with the MCU, as well as Star Wars. We're getting creatives who don't really care about the property, and I think it shows. Like, it just kind of shows as how they handle canon, and they ignore it to tell the story they want to tell, which is fine. Like, kind of like Zack Snyder doing his Rebel Moon thing. It's like his version of Star Wars. He was not hired to do a Star Wars movie, or maybe he was asked and chose not to because of canon issues. So he's going to go off and create his own canon. So if you want to do a space opera, awesome. But, you know, there are diehard fans who don't want to see canon screwed up. So kind of got to follow it. So I think that's kind of the same way with Borderlands, just from what I'm hearing from reviews. And no, I'm not going to go see this movie. I'm not going to pay money to be miserable. That it just is kind of Borderlands in name only, and you get a few references and things like that. I think my biggest problem with Borderlands, when the trailer came out, which the trailer is actually pretty decent looking. The trailer does kind of make it look like an entertaining movie, but it was just casting Jack Black as Claptrap. I was just like, it's a voice role. Why not actually get the Claptrap voice actor? So at the very least you have someone from Borderlands there, and maybe they can be like, well, the character wouldn't really do this, and you could have a voice that represents the gamers in that. Not to mention, I'm kind of over Jack Black and his shtick. It was funny when I was a teenager, Tenacious D and all that stuff. But left to his own devices, I think he's a little too silly now. Like, I didn't really like him as Bowser. I was like, could have gotten a more menacing voice for Bowser. But it is what it is. I mean, I don't dislike Jack Black. I like him in kind of smaller roles. Like, I think his best role is High Fidelity, where he is just a side character. And he's not bad. He's actually kind of heartfelt in School of Rock. I actually really like him in School of Rock. So I don't hate Jack Black. It's just that he feels like he's too goofy now. So, and I'm at that age where too goofy is too goofy, and I don't want to deal with too goofy. So, but yeah, there's Borderlands. Next one I'm just going to touch on briefly. If The Simpsons didn't do it first, I might be intrigued by this, but Afraid. And it fades out and goes to AI. It's got John Cho from Harold and Kumar fame. He's a family man. He's got his wife and kids, and they just had this new AI installed in the house, which is kind of like a nanny. And it's kind of doing the opposite of The Simpsons, where in The Simpsons you had the Pierce Brosnan AI try to replace Homer. It looks like this AI is trying to replace the mom, and maybe even more sinister than that. So I'm not saying it's directly ripping off The Simpsons, because I know The Simpsons kind of ripped off 2001: A Space Odyssey with Hal. I mean, the little computer eye looked like Hal from Space Odyssey. So Simpsons maybe didn't even do it first. It was Stanley Kubrick who did it first. It just kind of feels like I know where it's going, kind of thing like that. But a nice concept, especially to prey on everyone's fears about AI. Though Terminator, I think, did it the best. So very, very interesting looking trailer. Blumhouse, so you know it's probably cheaply made and decently acted and directed. But that's definitely going to be a pass for me. But it might sound interesting to some of you out there. I look it up on YouTube if you can. If I remember, I'll put a link for all these trailers below, so you can at least watch and see what you think. But yeah, it just kind of looks like I just kept thinking of the Simpsons episode, and I was just like, I can't get that out of my head. So it kind of ruined that trailer for me, but it at least looks like it's got some thrilling moments. I know my wife looked at me and said, no, as in, not that she thinks it's bad, as in she's not big on scary movies, and that one kind of freaked her out. And I looked at her and was like, don't worry, honey. The Simpsons did it way better 30 years ago. So, and then this one, my son and I argued about because he wants to see the remake. I don't, because I don't need the remake. I've got this. The new Crow trailer. It just looks like a generic action movie, and it could be better than what the trailer was, and if it is, whoever made the trailer needs to be fired. But it just doesn't feel like the Crow at all. Like, I don't know. It's just there was a lot of telling, by the way, in the trailer. A lot of exposition in the trailer. So when I see a lot of a lot of that in the trailer, I'm just like, oh man, it's going to be that in the movie, and we're going to get a lot of telling, not showing. So I always worry about exposition, too much exposition in a trailer to try to get me hooked, because I'm just like, and there's ways to do exposition. Like I think the Deadpool movies do it well because they do it in tongue-in-cheek, and movies based on books where you do have a narrator for the book, especially if it's first person, kind of need it a little bit to set the stage in the story and get the same feel. But this was it was an exposition dump in the trailer, and just a lot of the action scenes look generic, and I don't know. Maybe if it gets good reviews, I'll go check it out, but I don't think it will, because this is a remake that's been remake hell forever. I know DMX was once attached to it, and various other actors, they were trying to get it off the ground, and now they've got one of the Skarsgårds playing the Crow, and it just does not have the same feel. And I also think part of what makes the Crow work is the time in which it was made, because if you're old like me, you definitely went through your emo phase at some point in the 90s, which is what the Crow kind of feeds into. And I don't know if there's really that much in the culture for that kind of movie to work, and we'll have to see. But like I said, it looks like a very generic action film, so that is going to be an easy pass for me on that one. Though my son was arguing with me, he's like, "Well, I don't know." I was like, "It just doesn't look good." And I was like, I can't really express it enough. It just looks like a generic action revenge film. And he's like, "Oh, and the original Crow wasn't." I was like, "No, it wasn't. It brought something new to the table. The whole supernatural Native American belief of crows, Native American and Viking belief of crows whisking you off to the afterlife, but sometimes bringing you back to atone and things like that." So that felt very original. And I also need to check to see how much James O'Barr, the creator of the Crow, was involved with this. I actually have a signed drawing from him of the original Crow. I'm looking at it. It's kind of a combination of the original Crow and Brandon Lee. But I know he was very attached to him, and Brandon Lee became friends in the leading up to making of the film and stuff like that. And he honestly, unless he's for lack of a better term, his handler, the lady who was with him, talking to me and my buddies, like, unless, like, because he was like talking about the making of the movie with us, talking about Brandon and stuff like that, and then he went to go sign something else for somebody else, and she's like, "Oh, he really likes you guys. He doesn't really like talking about Brandon because it upsets him and it gets him really sad because they had a budding friendship and then his tragic death and things like that." So felt special there, kind of talking to the creator of one of my favorite comic books, which led to one of my favorite comic book movies, getting a signed drawing by him and things like that, and him just talking about the filmmaking stuff like that. So I'm kind of wondering his thoughts on the remake and things like that, because as a Brandon Lee fan and a fan of the original Crow, I'm not a big fan of remaking the movie, especially because there's been sequel books out there with different people, not Eric Draven being the Crow. There was one that took place during the Holocaust, which is really freaking cool. Something Wolves. I used to have it. I gave it to a buddy of mine. If I can find an Amazon link, I'll link that, which was really cool. Like, kind of like if they were going to do a Crow movie, I think with that IP, I think the people who love that IP we don't want a new Eric Draven. We like Brandon Lee as the Eric Draven. I think using that IP, doing a different Crow story, but actually taking the time to make it good, unlike the sequels to the Crow, probably would have served the studio better. But I mean, we'll see. Maybe it makes a ton of money. Maybe it's good and people love it and go see it, and I'm an asshole. But we'll have to see. And our last trailer that I watched, and that's coming out pretty recently because I've seen commercials for it on TV, is the new Alien movie. Alien Romulus, something like that. It's the new Alien movie. And much like the Prometheus movie and the Alien vs. Predator movies, it just looks generic. It doesn't look special like the original Alien or like its sequel Aliens. It's just, I don't know. It's just, I think that franchise has been dead and buried. I think the best way to go about making a sequel to that is doing who was it that wanted to make a sequel? I think the guy from District 9, the guy who wrote and directed District 9, I think it was him. He was going to do a new Aliens 3, where Hicks and Newt don't die, and things like that. I think that would have been the way to go to try to recapture that alien magic, because just one thing about this new one, I was watching the commercial, I don't recognize any of the actors, and they all come off in the trailer as generic alien fodder. Like, there's no one who kind of looks like, oh, this person's heroic, or this person's going to do this. And I know we have the benefit of hindsight looking at the original Alien, but just like when I spoke to my dad about the original Alien, other people who were alive and old enough to go see it when it came out, it was built as a Tom Skerritt vehicle. You go in, you think he's going to be the hero, he's going to be stoic, and just, it's Tom Skerritt. You already have a built-in liking for that actor and things like that, and going in thinking he's going to be the hero and things like that, and then it slowly develops, and Sigourney Weaver is not only the voice of reason throughout the movie, but also she becomes the hero. It's just really well crafted that way. And then James Cameron kind of doing the opposite of the lone alien killing off a bunch of truckers, a bunch of aliens killing off a bunch of space marines, kind of doing it into a more action horror as opposed to a haunted house horror. And of course, James Cameron and Ridley Scott, both fantastic filmmakers in of their own rights. So I think that's become an IP that 20th Century Fox owned, and they were just like, whatever, we can just throw money at it, it'll make a film, stuff like that. Now Disney owning Fox, and it's 20th Century Films, because that's what I was wondering before it kicked. I was like, Fox owns this, and I don't see this being a Disney film. So I was like, because I'd forgotten they kept the Fox 20th Century as like 20th Century Films, something like that around. So I was just kind of like, how's this going to be labeled as the studio as 20th Century Films? But everyone just looks like generic fodder, and just from the trailer, there was no character in there that I was like, oh, I like them or anything like that. They just didn't set it up like the previous movies did. Like, I remember Alien 3. I remember when that came out. Same with Alien 4 or Forever, whatever the fourth Alien was called. I remember when those came out, the trailers set a tone. And it wasn't just aliens killing. There was like a tone that set, like, I remember Alien 3 kind of showing the prison plan, and you're like, what is this? Like, it's like a sci-fi thing. You don't know what's going on. Then you see Ripley, and you're like, oh, I know what this is. And it doesn't really show you much, except for that iconic alien going at Ripley, which is now the most iconic part of it, because they even closed this trailer with a similar shot. So it was just kind of, it set a very like suspenseful tone, because Alien 3 was kind of supposed to be a return to the first Alien, where there was just the one alien, and it was very horror based. So it set that tone. Where this movie's trying to be, it looks like it's trying to be Alien and Aliens at the same time, where it's trying to be horror, but then also at the same time action. And I don't know if it's going to work. There has not been a good Aliens movie since probably 3. 3's not terrible, especially in hindsight, looking at what has come after that. There hasn't really been a good Aliens movie since then. So I just don't have faith that this one's going to be any good. I could be wrong, but again, that the tone the trailer set was just all action, and just everyone looked like fodder to be killed by the alien. I just don't know how to react to that. Just nothing about that trailer hooked me in. Like, especially if this wasn't a established franchise, if this was like a new movie, I just like, the hell is this? So I don't know. I think studios need to invest more money in trailer people to edit trailers. Get those people who did the Suicide Squad trailer, because they apparently were able to sell a movie based on a crappy movie based on a stellar trailer. But yeah, that was kind of the whole movie wrap up thing. That's kind of the one sad thing I have about modern movies today, because we don't get those mid-budget movies anymore. When I go, part of like going to the movies, the fun of the movies, oh, what trailers am I going to see? Is there going to be anything that excites me? And there was not a single trailer before Deadpool that got me excited for a movie coming out. The only thing that got me excited was in the actual movie of where this could possibly go, like Doom and Secret Wars and fun stuff like that. So let me know what you think. If you've seen Deadpool, let me know what you thought of that movie. Is it a definite rewatch for you? I'm pretty sure I'm going to return to my childhood roots when I get that, get a copy of that. I'm going to watch it like 10 times in a week. It's mostly just to catch all the references, because I was watching, I want to say Screen Crush video. They had like 237 Easter eggs. I think the YouTube video was like an hour long, and I didn't watch it like in detail. I was doing other things while I had it on the background. So I might just watch it for a week straight just to catch everything. Um, and then if you've seen any of these trailers, let me know what you thought of them. Are you looking forward to the new Aliens movie, The Crow, Afraid, or even Borderlands? And if you saw Borderlands, let me know what you think. All the movie reviewers who I watch on YouTube, who I like, who I feel we have a general like mindset when it comes to movies, all hated it. So I'm not even going to give it the time of day. Maybe when it comes on streaming, I'll maybe give it a watch just to see if it's any good. Or not any good, but so bad it's good kind of thing like that. But from what I've heard, I doubt it's even that. So again, thank you for watching the Dadcast. I'll be back next week. On the channel this week, we've got I review LA Knight from WWE Elite Series 108. Also, we have my top 30 video games of all time, 20 through 11. That, as I record this, it will debut tomorrow, but as this airs, it will probably be the day or two before. So this will air afterwards, so I'll probably have links to both those videos at the end of this podcast, so you can check them out if you want. And then more Bioshock gameplay coming at you. Speedrun Saturdays. The first week did really well with the algorithm. Second week, not so much. So we're gonna try a third week. But I do enjoy. I actually have to get on Nintendo because it's Tuesday. I gotta see how I ranked on some of those things. So I gotta film that at the very least. So I know the Speedrun Saturday coming at you this Saturday. So as always, have a great rest of your day. Hopefully those dings that just came through on my computer did not come through on the microphone. But have a great rest of your day, and thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe. If you want to be notified, hit that notification bell. It helps the channel out. We're on the road to 500 to get monetized so that all my video games I buy, I can use as a tax write-off, which I actually did a big order from Suragaya. Some really cool shit coming in that order. So stay tuned for that unboxing, probably coming next week because I got to get the stuff first and film, then edit. But I'm really excited with the items I ordered from there. One item I've been waiting to add to my collection for a long time. So can't wait to show that to you guys. But also, one of the items coming in that is going to be a new video. I'm going to do a video based around this particular item because it's something that's very popular that I've never experienced before. So I'm going to do a whole video of me trying it out and seeing if I like it as much as everyone else does. So with all that said, again, thank you. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.